All right. Let's move it along here. Bill Huber's 2025 roster prediction. Okay, so I want to give a shout out to Bill Huber. This was an awesome article. I could have pulled the article up. I didn't want to do that to him. What I did was basically wrote down what he had projected, what his kind of prediction is on the roster. So if you guys would help me show some love to Bill Huber over on Twitter. And also you can just click on this link in our Patreon group that'll send you directly to his article. There's a lot more information in there where you can kind of see why he picked these positions and which players would stay. So let's jump into it, man. First of all, quarterbacks, all right? 53-man roster. He's keeping 2. Jordan Love, Malik Willis. Practice squad, Jacob, Taylor Elgersma. So he actually thinks, at least at this point right now, again, everybody's got the right to change their mind. It's early in camp. We're entering the second week here. But he thinks Taylor Elgersma will go to the practice squad and Sean Clifford will be cut loose. I don't think there's any concern with Sean Clifford being picked up by another team, maybe on a practice squad. You know what I mean? But I think there's still a chance that if for some reason we get a little ways into the season, Taylor Elgersma isn't advancing the way they want him to, or they don't like the way he's operating, helping operate scout team, that they could still go get Sean Clifford. But what do you think about that, man? That first thing right out of the gate kind of caught my attention. Would you be okay with keeping Taylor Elgersma over Sean Clifford?
Man, honestly, I don't know. That's one that I didn't think I'd have to think that hard about. But just the fact, I believe, wasn't Clifford a 5th-round draft pick? I personally think that maybe the only reason they would is an age thing. And I don't remember Elgersma's age right now. If you guys want to hit that in the chat, I think that if you want to look for what you know as far as consistency, is if you want to go in and just have, like you said, a guy that on the practice squad knows the offense, knows how to communicate that to the guys that are on that practice squad, therefore to the rest of the team if they were to ever get that chance. I think they definitely keep Clifford. If you are completely looking at the fact that, hey, maybe Malik Willis is not here next year, we need to have ourselves a backup that has a little more upside. I think that, yeah, you probably try to take a stab with Elgersma and hope that he can develop into actually becoming a formidable backup for, let's say, probably the next 2 to 3, 4 years to come as well. If I had to pick one I would do right now, I'm going to be a little conservative. I think I'd probably still take Clifford.
Okay, got it. Let's go to the chat. 2-0 for this says the Clifford experiment is over for me. Joseph says Clifford is gone. All right. Daryl says Sean Clifford threw a football into the net.
There you go.
Joseph says Clifford's going to the XFL. So Turtles Elgersma is going to prove it Saturday. Man, I just got excited hearing you say that or reading your comment there, So Turtles. Get to watch these guys go out there and wing that thing around. It's going to be fun, man. I want to see a little Malik Willis, Jacob. Do you think they put Malik Willis out there for a decent amount of time to try to improve his trade stock, or do you think they just say, you know what, let's keep him out of harm's way and let's just let Taylor Elgersma and Sean Clifford run it?
Yeah, I know what I'd do is I would give him probably every first quarter and then let those other two just absolutely ball out, because I think we kind of know what Malik is, but I do think that going into this season, we want Malik to be ready. We saw what happened last year. He was very good off the bench, almost to the point of shockingly so, where we didn't see that coming. And I think this year, that, like you said, there's 2 reasons to do it. Keep him ready to go, keep him warmed up, keep that, I think that he is, like Coach said, I think he maybe does need some work as far as if he is going to be a plug and play. Like if at any point Love goes out, God forbid, we want him to be able to come in and have adequate amount of practice time, playing time, so that he can kind of keep up with the speed. I really loved what I saw from him last year, and I do think that he takes a step this year. And whether that is just a trade bait scenario where it's like, yeah, we want him to, on one hand, come in and be able to be a productive quarterback if we need him. And like you said, on the other hand, show off some new toys that we have that maybe the rest of the league after about 4 or 5 weeks are like, all right, this is not going to happen. This isn't going to work. We need a considerable backup that we could maybe, get some real draft capital for. I'm all about it. I don't know. I think I still agree with the original statement. Oops, sorry.
You good, man. Dennis Shook says here in the chat, y'all are treating Clifford the way Jacob treats me. I'm done being anyone's last resort. So nobody puts Dennis Shook in the corner. You know what I'm saying? Drew D says Elgersma has not looked that great to me, but I haven't seen that much. Elgersma does qualify for the international spot, I believe. Drew, I'd love to get that completely fact checked, because I thought the same thing originally too. And then I want to say someone said he does not qualify for that. I could be wrong there. I don't know if it's something that maybe Canada doesn't qualify or what, but I kind of thought that's the first thing that crossed my mind too, was like, that might be a way that you could, kind of keep them both. But Holmes MD1 says a year too soon to cut Clifford, in my opinion. All right, got it, man. United Bates says Elgs is 23 years old. That's one thing he's got going for him.
Yeah.
Because Sean Clifford's 26? Am I thinking right? Like 26 or 27? He's getting older now. So, which is wild to think about. But all right, let's move it along.
Just
Running back.
Braden says Canada doesn't count. I don't know if that's just for football, but I agree with that sentiment.
Jacob, come on now, man. We got great friends of the show in Canada. There's good people in Canada, man. Great people in Canada. What the hell's wrong with you, Jacob?
Syrup eaters.
Man, anybody I've ever known that's taken a trip to Canada, they're like, Clayton, you got to go. You would love it. It's beautiful up there. It's absolutely gorgeous. So I would like to get to Canada sooner or later. So moving on to running back. Actually, before we dive into running back, that'd be a good spot to stop it there. For those of you listening on the pod, that's going to do it for hour one. We're going to pick up on this conversation on hour two, where we will continue with the running backs, and we'll fly through this roster projection from Bill Huber. Just a little exercise to kind of get us ready for the second week of training camp. We'll see you on the other side. We appreciate you.
For those of you listening on the pod,
welcome into hour two, man. That was live in person. All right, running backs, 53-man roster. He's saying they're going to keep 4. Jacob, last year we kept 3, I believe.
Ooh.
Josh Jacobs, Marshawn Lloyd, Emmanuel Wilson, Chris Brooks, and the practice squad goes to Amar Johnson. So he's saying Izzy is gone. Amar Johnson lands on the practice squad. I don't mind that. I could see that happening. What do you think about what he's got to say here, man? Bill Huber, Josh Jacobs, Marshawn Lloyd, Emmanuel Wilson, Chris Brooks on the 53. Amar Johnson from the Jackrabbits landing on the practice squad.
Yeah, I'd probably have to disagree here. One, because in my opinion, Marshawn Lloyd has not shown us that he can stay healthy. And even if he has, I don't think we've seen enough of him to just pencil him in as that number 2 position. We've went and talked about that quite a bit. I think that Emmanuel Wilson has absolutely earned the number 2 position right now. That being said, I don't think that we'd have a problem sneaking Chris Brooks onto the practice squad. I could be wrong. He does have some decent tape that's on film, especially even late in the season. I just, at this point, with the wide receiver carousel that we have, the running back room was an easy one for me to say we're going in with 3. And for us to push 4 when I think 1 or 2 of them may not even be, targets for a lot of other teams, to me, this doesn't make sense. But I'm not Bill Huber. I think that that's fair. I do love Amar Johnson to the practice squad. I just feel like that Chris Brooks could get there as well. And that's, again, if Marshawn Lloyd stays healthy enough to even dictate the spot on the roster.
There you go. Now, you're obviously, I want to make sure it's not misunderstood. You're not saying Marshawn Lloyd should not make the 53. You're simply saying Emmanuel Wilson should be higher than him on the depth chart, right?
From what I've seen out of the last year of Emmanuel Wilson versus Marshawn Lloyd, I think that for sure it's Emmanuel Wilson's the number 2.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. Now, listen, they may see it different. Him being a second-round pick, or was it third-round pick, right? I'm thinking right. Yeah, third round,
yes.
right?
Yep.
They may see it different. They may look at it like, hey, we need to get him reps. We need to get him, some game time there in the regular season. But I'm with you, man. Emmanuel Wilson's done everything, right? He's gotten better at his pass pro. He's gotten better at catching the football out of the backfield, and Lord knows he can run that rock, man. He graded out as a top 10 running back last year, according to PFF. And again, PFF isn't everything, but when you see someone graded high on PFF and you go watch the tape and you see it on the tape too, that's where I kind of put everything together. All right, that all checks out. Sometimes I'll watch the tape and say, man, this guy's balling out. And then I'll go look at the NFL Pro data, some of the advanced analytics like your EPA metrics, and I'll look at PFF and go, I'm the odd man out here. I'm missing something, Joseph in the chat says Brooks doesn't survive being cut, in my honest opinion. I'll tell you, Joseph, he put some good tape out there last year, man. It's a good point. And I understand where you're coming from too, Jacob, to try to sneak him on the practice squad. If I had to make a decision right now whether to try to sneak him on the practice squad or not, I probably would try to do it too, just because I think of the receiver position that we need to probably put some extra bodies in, things like that. So Drew D, been a member for 9 months. Appreciate you, Drew. He said they must be from outside of the U.S. or Canada. There you go. So I guess kind of look at it like North America, right, Drew? Like they got to be outside of North America for it to qualify for the international. I was thinking I read that somewhere the other day, and I was like, darn it, I thought I was the smartest guy in the room here, because I was thinking, yep, we could just try to slide him into the international program. So anything else on running back, Jacob? Anything else you want to add there, man?
No. I mean, I understand people saying that's why we have to have 4 is because of Lloyd. But again, like, I don't know. I have not seen him do anything for us. And then the amount of, I don't want to say capital that we spent in the draft, because that to me, like you said, 3rd rounder, understood, but for whatever reason, this guy just can't keep healthy on the field. And we have seen proven commodities from the other 2 guys. So to me, I think the Packers front office may make an exception where usually it seems like they want to hang on to these draft picks until the very bitter end. I think this may be a different scenario, but I hope I'm pleasantly, surprised.
Yeah. All right, moving along. Let's go to wide receiver. Bill Huber says 53-man roster. We're carrying 6, Jacob. We're going with 6 receivers. They are. And again, I don't think he's got these in any particular order, to be honest with you. So don't take it as the order in which that's his depth chart. I think he's just kind of throwing the names in there for the active. 6 receivers make the 53-man roster. Romeo Dobbs, Jaden Reed, Dontavion Wicks, Matthew Golden, Savion Williams, and he's saying Mecole Hardman makes the roster. Obviously, this is with Christian Watson landing on the PUP, at least for the first 4 weeks of the season, probably a little longer there with that ACL. And he's saying we'll send 2 to the practice squad. Those 2 will be Malik Heath and Sam Brown. So really what the story is here, Jacob, the top 5, no surprise whatsoever. You got a couple of high draft picks, and you got guys that both Goody and Matt LaFleur absolutely love. The question is, do you agree with them keeping Mecole Hardman over Malik Heath? I definitely agree with Mecole Hardman over Sam Brown. I think I agree with them keeping Mecole Hardman over Malik Heath, but that's the tough one for me, is like, which one can you clear onto the practice squad? I do agree with him that I think Malik Heath has a better shot of landing on the practice squad as opposed to Mecole Hardman that somebody might pick up because of special team value. What do you think?
Yeah, that would be my justification there. This isn't one that I really would want to make as far as the decision. This is tough. I love Malik Heath. I really do. And it just would stink that, because I think Mecole Hardman has came in here and just showed that he's too valuable in the areas that we really need, which, if you want to call it a gadget guy, if you want a guy that needs to take the top off the defense, specifically in the punt return game, kick return game, just the veteran presence, a guy that's been to the big game, actually won the big game on his last minute, last second type plays. That to me is a type of value that I think doesn't make the practice squad. I know Tony Holman's saying that Heath won't make it to the practice squad. I think that very well could be as well, Tony. And I'm not saying that I'd, again, relish this. And I don't want to sit here and say I hope there's an injury. I'm just saying if there happens to be one, that makes this decision, I think, a lot easier. And maybe we're able to do some sort of practice squad carousel between some healthy guys and guys that aren't in certain weeks. I really hate that decision, but I believe that Heath and Mecole Hardman are 2 very different types of wide receivers, if that makes sense. And I don't know how easy that decision is going to be because they're not apples to apples there.
Right. And, when I think of Heath, and you guys know I'm the president of the Malik Heath fan club, especially with the EPA per reception, analytic there. I think he's very, very, very underrated. But when you look at how Matt LaFleur builds his offense, I know some people would look at this and go, well, Malik Heath would be the better blocker than Mecole. I completely agree. But also, you got to look at Mecole as that moving Z as well. So you're getting special teams value, and you're getting someone who can line up in the slot. He can play the moving Z. He can give you speed at the Z position, which Matt LaFleur loves. If you guys are wondering, imagine you're going boundary X, so X on the short side of the field. You got all that large side of the field to have to cover. And if you put somebody flexed out there wide at the Z with speed, think of how that really neutralizes and bends the safety outside further than they want. That's what opens up your slot crosses, your climb routes, your digs underneath that Matt LaFleur loves going to. So I think there's a little more value in Hardman than there is Malik Heath. And I think there's a better chance that Heath makes a practice squad than Hardman, although I do agree with everybody in the chat who's saying they don't think Heath will make it to the practice squad. That's why I'm a little hesitant on being so like, oh, it's definitely Mecole. Because, Jacob, if a bunch of knuckleheads like us that do this show see that Malik Heath's taking huge steps in the right direction, the rest of the other teams in the league have seen it too. So,
yeah, I agree.
All right. And what's Burrell say here? I think Hardman over Heath based on veteran experience, and maybe he can throughout the season give advice to these wide receivers. 3 rings, I feel he should have a little edge. And the other thing too, Rel, is when they signed him, if you'll remember, all the receivers, the young receivers, I know Matthew Golden and Savion Williams said that Mecole Hardman reached out to him right off the bat. And it's like, you haven't spent a single snap with the Packers, and you're taking it upon yourself to reach out to the first round, third round pick at receiver. It really says a lot too. So I'm with you there, Real. I think you make a great point, man.
Real quick, somebody in the chat let us know, because I want to say somebody said, or we keep 7 wide receivers. Is there any other year lately that you guys can point us that we started with the original 53 with 7? I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm very curious to see if it did. So if
I
you
don't
could
remember, but it wouldn't surprise me either. You know, because there's been some weeks that I stopped trying to figure it out, Jake. Because there was many times where I'm like, oh yeah, he should be active, and then come game day, we're going after 4 corners or something. Like, I didn't expect that. So yeah, that's a great point. I would love to know that information too. I don't know how we could find it, to be honest with you, without having to comb.
I'm sure Bates will find it.
Oh yeah, Bates is the man. Bates is our Jamie. All right, tight ends. Check this out: 53-man roster. 3 on the 53: Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave, and John Fitzpatrick. And he's got Ben Sims going to the practice squad. I think there's just as much a chance of Ben Sims getting poached as John Fitzpatrick, but it's obvious, Jacob. John Fitzpatrick seems like he has passed Ben Sims up on the depth chart. I don't know if it's his blocking ability or what it may be, but they really, really like John Fitzpatrick. He's a big body dude too, if I'm thinking right. He's like 6'7" or something crazy.
Yeah, and I think they both had pretty good RAS as well. What I think is more likely than Fitzpatrick or Sims, I think if they did decide to ever do a 7 wide receiver, 53, I think you're only carrying 2. You're going in with Tucker, and whichever the 2 doesn't make the practice squad, even, like, could you see a scenario where, all right, they think they can sneak Fitzpatrick and Sims on the practice squad, and then somehow both of them get sniped, and they're like, well, that's all right, we got Messiah Simpson or Swinson, who we just fills that role of being the more inline blocking tight end, because we've got 2 very athletic guys. I mean, with Musgrave, a guy you can split out almost as a wide receiver. Tucker is almost in that same vein as well. I'd say he's definitely a more well-rounded tight end. Do you see that ever as a situation, or am I just?
I kind of talked about it the other day that if you like Ben Sims just as much as John Fitzpatrick, I would be okay with the initial 53 carrying 2 tight ends to try to squeeze some other guys on the right. And here's the way that works: is if you've got a couple of guys that you want to try to get on the roster that you think other teams are going to be highly going after, what you can do is once you get them on the 53, even if it's for a day or two, and you let these guys clear waivers, go to the practice squad. Now, once these other teams are going, well, crap, they kept it on the 53, let's move on to another player, and then they start to invest in another player. Then you kick that guy over to the practice squad.
Yeah,
it's more likely you'll hold on to him once the season kind of gets going, as opposed to that initial cut. So there you go, dead fish, John Fitzpatrick. 6'7", 262 pounds. That's a big old boy, Jacob. Big old boy. That's his arm length has got to be just absolutely outrageous too. Ben Sims, 6'5", 250. Listen, that ain't a small human being either, right? Ben Sims, I feel like he's done everything they've asked him to do with his opportunities. But I do remember Fitzpatrick last year, a little late in the season, lining up in that wing and just smacking people in the mouth in a goal line situation. So I think we had one specific Chalk Talk one time. It was a Josh Jacobs touchdown run. Was a play on Chalk Talk one week, and we literally on loop put Fitzpatrick smacking somebody right in the mouth at the goal line. So
yeah,
obviously they like them both. So United Bates says, I'm seeing 2023 with Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, Jaden Reed, Dontavion Wicks, Samori Toure, Malik Heath, and Grant DeBose. There you go, Jacob. 2023 looks like was the last time, or at least the one that Bates was able to find.
Man, how soon we forget? I forgot about Samori Toure, bro. And yeah. I was on his bandwagon for a hot minute,
Right. Yeah, there you go. Bates says, showing it's their 2023 initial 53-man roster. Wow. So we broke camp with 7 receivers. Maybe
I think that's true. I think I remember that. Remember? Yeah. And then I think Grant ended up leaving halfway through the season and went over to like Miami or something and got a big injury, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Okay.
So if you did say, you know what, we're going to roll the dice, put John Fitzpatrick on the practice squad because we think this is a better way of asking this question. If we just narrowed it down to wide receiver and tight end, who do you think has a better chance of making it to the practice squad? John Fitzpatrick or Malik Heath? I think it's John Fitzpatrick, don't you?
I would agree, sir.
So that might be why you break camp with 7, even if it's for a day or two, So anything else on tight end, Jacob? Anything at all?
No, sir.
All right, let's move it along. Offensive line. I was hoping Emilio would be in the house tonight. He'd be excited about this. All right. 53-man roster. Bill Huber is saying we're going to keep 9 on the 53. It's Rasheed Walker, Aaron Banks, Elton Jenkins, Sean Ryan, Zach Tom, Jordan Morgan, Anthony Belton, Jacob Monk, and Travis Glover. Practice squad is going to be 4. John Williams, Donovan Jennings, Tyler Cooper, and Brant Banks is his prediction. So obviously the big talking point here, Jacob, Travis Glover. Do you see any of those other 4 that Bill Huber specifically mentions as the most valuable that didn't make the 53, the 4 offensive linemen that made it to the practice squad? John Williams, Donovan Jennings, Tyler Cooper, or Brant Banks. Is there any of those 4 you would rather keep over Travis Glover? I'm not saying this because it's Emilio's guy, but I think I would keep Travis Glover over those 4 too, man.
Yeah, as much as I want to, rub some dirt in Emilio's face, the only one that honestly popped off the page to me would be Donovan Jennings, just because it seemed like they had been giving him snaps all around that line. We know he can play tackle. I think he could play guard. It sounds like they were giving him like third string center snaps. So if there would be a guy that pops off the page for that, I definitely don't think it's John Williams. He's got too much back problems. Tyler Cooper, I believe that was the guard out of Minnesota. Brant Banks just hasn't had enough time. I think Donovan Jennings, I believe, wasn't he a USF guy? And that would be the only one, honestly.
Got it. And for me, I remember Tyler Cooper kind of catching my attention a little bit. Like I want to say,
he graded out well.
Yeah, I want to say he of those 4 players there, I think Tyler Cooper is the one I'd probably be most interested in. Clint, the armchair quarterback, says John Williams, the invisible man, right? Chris Casuan, John Williams long-term. It's a great point, Chris. He's the youngest. You got a 4-year deal there with him being a draft pick. However, if you just kick him to the practice squad and then bring him back on the futures next year, it resets to a 3-year deal, so you're good to go, right? To the best of my knowledge. If I'm misunderstanding that, you guys correct me in the chat. But so I look at it the same way you do in that regard, Chris, but also if you can get him to the practice squad, does Travis Glover get poached if you try to send him to the practice squad? I think of those 4, he's probably the
get poached by Emilio and dragged into his basement.
Tied up in his basement.
I got a race car bed for you, brother.
Yeah. Look, Holmes MD1 Jennings was cheeks on family night. And, that's the other thing too, Holmes. They're trying him at center a little bit. And he's failing miserably with the snap. And that ain't an easy thing to do if you don't have a whole lot of experience there, right? But that kind of, to me, Holmes, it feels like the writing's on the wall for Jennings. Like, hey, let's see if we can get some extra value out of him at the center position. And if he can't do that, maybe we just move on. And, we're sitting there talking about the players we want to keep, the players we don't want to have to cut, and so on and so forth. And we're not even taking into consideration every year, right? Other teams will cut players that Goody loved, and he'll go pick them up, and we'll cut one of these guys loose. So that'll definitely happen. So, yeah. We'll see how it shakes out. Anything on offensive line here, Jacob? Anything else you want to add, man? We good. I think Jacob had to step away. We'll just keep it